This is from the UK. His name is Nigel Farage. He is a member of parliament. He's the leader of the UK Independence Party. And I was talking about the futility and the stupidity of the most recent bailout in Spain. But, you know, he does a really good job, in fact, even a better job than I did. It's very interesting to listen to it, especially with an English accent. So I'm going to play some cuts.
Another one bites the dust. Country number 4, Spain, gets bailed out, and we all, of course, know that it won't be the last. Though I wondered over the weekend whether perhaps I was missing something. Because when the Spanish Prime Minister, Mr. Rajoy, got up, he said that this bailout shows what a success the Eurozone has been. And I thought, well, having listened to him over the previous couple of weeks telling us there wouldn't be a bailout, I've got the feeling after all his twists and turns, he's just about the most incompetent leader in the whole of Europe. And that's saying something, because there's pretty stiff competition. Indeed, every single prediction of yours, Mr. Barroso, has been wrong. And dear old Herman Van Rompuy, well, he's done a runner, hasn't he? Because the last time he was here, he told us we'd turned the corner, that the euro crisis was over, and he hasn't bothered to come back and see us.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got some stiff composition on our side of the pond, too, for most incompetent leaders. I don't know if we want to let someone in Europe beat us to that one. But anyway, here he continues. This is good stuff, and I really like the way it sounds with an English accent. Remember, those of you who are premium members, you can actually see these comments as well as hear them.
You know, I remember being here 10 years ago and hearing the launch of the Lisbon Agenda. We were told that with the euro by 2010 we would have full employment, and indeed that Europe would be the competitive and dynamic powerhouse of the world. By any objective criteria, the euro has failed, and in fact there is a looming impending disaster. You know, this deal makes things worse, not better. 100 billion is put up for the Spanish banking system, and 20% of that money has to come from Italy. And under the deal, the Italians have to lend to the Spanish banks at 3%, but to get that money, they have to borrow on the markets at 7%. It's genius, isn't it? It really is brilliant.
Yeah, again, he's pointing out what should be the obvious, that they have a debt problem, and their solution is more debt. And of course, Italy is also considered a problem, yet Italy is being forced to borrow more money to help out Spain. You know, again, you know, it reminds me of the Superman movie. You know, you got me, who's got you? You can't. This can't go on indefinitely. They have to put an end to the madness. But nobody in Europe wants to acknowledge the failure and what actually has to be done about it. And it's the same exact thing in America. Unfortunately, maybe we don't have enough people who are as eloquently stating this in Congress to, you know, although I'm sure this is falling on deaf ears, just like similar comments in America might be received by the U.S. House of Representatives or the Senate. But more debt is not the solution. Yet that's the only solution that we're proposing. We want bigger stimulus, which is more debt. We want to borrow even more money so that we can suffer the same fate, only worse. Here is where he really wraps it up.
So what we're doing with this package is we're actually driving countries like Italy towards needing to be bailed out themselves. In addition to that, we put a further 10% on Spanish national debt. And I tell you, any banking analyst will tell you 100 billion doesn't solve the Spanish problem. It would need to be more like 400 billion. And with Greece teetering on the edge of euro withdrawal, the real elephant in the room is that once Greece leaves, the ECB, the European Central Bank, is bust. It's gone. It has 444 billion euros worth of exposure to the bailed out countries. And to rectify that, you'll need to have a cash call from Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Greece and Italy. You couldn't make it up, could you? It is total and utter failure. This ship, the Euro Titanic, has now hit the iceberg, and sadly there simply aren't enough lifeboats.
Very sobering assessment of the European situation. What are the leaders in Europe going to do with their backs to the wall? And, you know, this is the situation that we're going to be in. It's the same thing. It's the same dynamic, right? We are going to be held accountable for our debts. The fact that we have a printing press doesn't change anything because, hey, they've got a printing press in Europe. They could use it. They're just a little bit reluctant to do it. they're more reluctant to use their printing press than we are to use ours. But the fact that they've got that printing press doesn't change the dynamics. It maybe changes the way the losses are borne among the population, among the creditors, but they're just as bad. Believe me, Greece would not be immune from this crisis if it had the drachma. In fact, if Greece leaves the Eurozone and prints drachma, it's going to be worse than if they stayed in the Eurozone and had a reform. So it doesn't make it better because you can print money. In fact, it makes it worse.